Last year I shared how to make the mini granny stocking, and many of you asked if there was a way to make it bigger. When I tried upsizing the pattern itself, I discovered pretty quickly that the proportions just don't hold. So yes, the good news is we can resize it, but to do it I had to change the pattern. For the original pattern, we started with a granny square, and then on the last round, we created a shape that looked more like a pocket. And that pocket shape is very similar to a pentagon. So for this version, we're going to start with a 5-sided granny, a pentagon, which will give you the perfect amount of increases in all the right places. Along with that, I've got 2 little tweaks to show you that make the shape even cleaner. These are small changes, but they make a big difference. For the stockings that you see in the video, I used a weight 4 cotton yarn with a 4mm hook. As you can tell, I do love to do the granny square effect of switching colors after every round. But for this tutorial, I'm just going to stick with one color. That way you can see it done both ways. But I'll also be sure to share how to do the color changes. Adding a slip knot to my hook. Chain 4 or make a magic ring. I'm going to go ahead and chain 4. And add a slip stitch into the very first chain to form a ring. Chain 2. To work a granny square, we do granny clusters, and a granny cluster is simply 3 double crochets into the same space. So to make a pentagon, we need to make 5 points. So we're going to be making 5 granny clusters. But here comes our very first tweak. Instead of doing double crochets, we're going to do a half double crochet. I found that it just really helps the shape of the stocking. So to continue on, we need to do 2 more half double crochets to complete the cluster. That's yarn over the hook, going into the center. Notice here I am holding the tail. I'm going to carry it along. That way I can tighten it at the end and it behaves more like a magic ring. Pull the yarn through, yarn over, and pull through all 3 loops. One more time. And that's the first cluster made. Chain 2. And now we're going to repeat this 4 more times. A granny cluster followed by a chain 2. Granny cluster of half doubles. Chain 2. Continue this all the way around. And to complete the round, you can slip stitch into the top of the beginning chain and fasten off if you're going to change colors. But if you're using the same color like I am here, instead of doing a chain 2, I recommend that you do a half double crochet instead. So again, yarn over the hook, going into the top of the beginning chain, yarn over, pull through all 3. This is going to place you into the center of that corner. And you'll have something that looks like this, a cute little pentagon shape. If you're starting with a new color, join in any corner with a slip stitch and chain 3. This is going to serve as your first double crochet. If you're working with one color, chain 3, same thing, this serves as your first double. And from here on out, we are just doing double crochets. That was the only time we're doing the half double cluster. Next, do 2 double crochets into the same corner space. That's half of your first corner made, and that's going to be the case throughout. I like starting with half of the corner, going all the way around, and completing on the other side. For this round, we're creating corners in every space. That's 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets. Now, I am not doing a chain 1 in between my clusters. You can absolutely do that if you prefer. If it's working way too tight for you, then by all means add that chain 1. But for this tutorial, I'm not doing that. So with that said, skipping over to the next corner space, create a corner. That's 3 doubles, chain 2, 3 doubles. All in the same space. We're just going to continue this all the way around, creating a corner in each of those chain 2 spaces. We're back to the first chain 2 space. Add 3 more doubles. If you're changing colors, chain 2 and fasten off in the top of the beginning chain. But if you're continuing on with the same color, half double crochet into the top of that beginning chain. From here on out, if you're changing colors, just follow what you've done for the past round and fasten on in any corner with a new color. Chain 3, half of a corner, so it's 2 more doubles. Next, in the space between the clusters, work a granny cluster. And then in your chain 2 space, work a corner. That's 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double crochets, all in the same corner space. You're going to repeat this all the way around. Cluster in the side space. A corner in the chain 2 space. Back to the very first chain 2 space, completing my corner. There's my first cluster, half double crochet in the top of the beginning chain 3. So at this point, if you wanted to make a mini stocking with this pattern, you certainly could. With the wrong side facing you, fold it together, and you've got yourself a really cute stocking shape. Now, the only thing that I'm not thrilled about with this pattern is how pointy this toe gets, and the bigger that you get, the more prominent this is going to be. What I like to do before I fasten off is take the tail and pull that toe area in and then stitch it in place. At that point, I fasten this off and I start my seaming. And I'm going to show you all of this later in the video. I just wanted to give you an idea of this if you want to stop here. And that's all there is to it. To go bigger, you're just going to repeat round 3. You'll notice here after round 3, I have 2 spaces on the sides. For the following round, you'll see 3 spaces on the side, then 4 spaces on the side, and so on. So just go as big as you like to complete your stocking. You'll notice here I went up to 7 rounds. One thing you may notice from this is starting to get kind of wavy and ripply. The bigger you go, the more ripply it's going to get. Now the good news is it really doesn't matter for something like this. As soon as you fold it into place, it retains its shape really nicely. But to be fair, I haven't gone really big. This is about as big as I've gone with this, but I wouldn't get too stressed out about this. I think it's a similar situation to when you do a hexagon for a cardigan. I think it gets pretty wavy when you go very big for that. If you've ever made a cardigan with a hexagon shape, please let us know in the comments if it's really ripply and wavy. I think that information would really help anyone that wants to make a full-size stocking. Once you've made the size that you want to make, it's time to fasten off, but I highly recommend that you give yourself a nice long tail because we want to fold the toe in to give it some shape. If you were changing colors after every round and you were doing the chain 2 with the slip stitch, for your final round, I would recommend that you replace that with the half double crochet. That will place your tail dead center, which will make it easier for folding in that toe. I'm just going to snip my yarn and grab a finishing needle. Make sure the back side or the side with the tail is facing you and fold. And as you can see, we've got a really pointy toe. Let's fix that. All I'm doing here is I'm going to fold this in until I get a shape that I like. For the smaller stocking, I just took the clusters and matched them on top of the clusters from the next round. But the bigger you go, the deeper you're going to want to go with this. So I would play with it, just fold it in, using these other clusters as a guide. I'm going 1, 2, and then I'm folding. Let your eye be your guide with this. Just do whatever is most pleasing to you. And then just attach. At this point, you would snip your yarn. I'm not going to because I want to save this yarn for something else. I'm going to do the seaming portion with this one because I think it will be easier for you to see the stitches. For the edging and the seaming, we're going to use single crochets. So we're going to start at one corner, work all the way around the top edge, and then join. We want our single crochets to be on the front side. So here's your front. Again, it's folded. Here's that first corner. You want to fasten on right here. I'm going to do a standing single crochet in the corner space. And then just work a single crochet in the top of every stitch across. Now this is a little bit snug. I'm looking at this and thinking it could do with a couple of extra single crochets in there just to loosen up this opening. If you're having the same experience, you can either add some increases or even do your single crochets with a larger hook. To join, add a slip stitch into the first single that you made. And then to create a hanger, just chain 10 to 15. If you want it longer, add more. If you want it shorter, add less. To secure, slip stitch into the same space. And then just to tidy everything up, I would add another single crochet into that same chain 2 corner space, making sure to match both sides. And now we're just doing single crochets along the edge, joining as we go. And so what I really want you to pay attention to here is it's very easy to skip stitches on the other side. When it's facing you, the right side, your double crochet, the top of the stitch, if you're right-handed, leans slightly to the right, giving you the appearance of the letter P. But notice here you're working into the back of the stitch, so that's going to be in the reverse order. So here it looks like the letter P, but on the back side, it's going to look like the letter Q, and in the reverse if you're left-handed. So if you can remember that, it will help you to line these up a lot more neatly and you won't skip stitches. You're going to continue this all the way down, but wait for me before you do the heel because I have another shaping tip. Here at the corner we have quite a square shape, right? And we want to round that out, make it look a little bit more like a sock. So to do that, we're going to do a little bit of a decrease. Basically, we're just going to skip over the chain 2 space as we work. So lining everything up, continuing to do our single crochets until we get up to that corner. So working into this last double crochet into both sides. Pull up a loop. To make this a little bit neater, yarn over your hook and then repeat it. In the first double crochet on both sides, pull through a loop and you'll have 4 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 4 loops. And this is going to create a curve, and that extra yarn over is going to make the stitching on the back side look a lot neater. This is what it would look like if you hadn't done that yarn over. Makes quite a difference, doesn't it? And now we're just going to continue on like we've been doing, and I'll meet you here before we do the toe. Finishing up on the last really clear cluster. Try saying that 10 times fast. And now we've got this. And all we're doing is we're continuing on with the single crochets. We just want to do it as neatly as possible. Here's one that's already been completed. You can see I just go up to the middle of that cluster. That's what appeals to me. If you want to go all the way up, give it a go and see if you like that better. We're just shaping it with our single crochets. You're just going to play with this until it's pleasing to your eye. I think one more should do it. When you get the toe looking how you want it, we're going to help round it out a little bit more by taking the tail and stitching it through. Give yourself a lot of tail. That sounded a bit weird, but we're going to go with it. Don't go too crazy with knotting and weaving this in as you go, because you may do it and decide, it's not quite right, you know? I quite like that, so I'm going to commit to it. And there you have it, a really easy way to upsize your mini granny square. If you'd like to learn how to make the original mini stocking, I'll go ahead and place a link to the tutorial here. It's really simple, really fast, takes all of 15 minutes to make. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, a like is always appreciated. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.